It's your girl Cheyenne from Plant My Happy Space. Welcome back to the channel. If you're not subscribed, you should definitely do so right now. And if you're not following me on Instagram, that'd also be something I recommend doing because we're going to be putting out content pretty regularly, guys. We're almost on a schedule now. Today, I am going to try to participate in the Juicy Plant Tuber tag created by Nicole here on YouTube. Nobody tagged me in this tag, but that's not going to necessarily stop me from participating in it. I just really like the questions she created, so I wanted to participate, and that's what we're going to do today. The first question are, what are my 3 most expensive plants, how much they cost, and if I have any regrets. My number 1 most expensive plant is my Philodendron Luxurians El Choco Red. I spent $230 on that plant, and it had 1 leaf with another leaf on the way. I do not regret buying that. I'll be honest, I didn't know I spent that much on it. Well, I didn't remember that that was such an expensive plant for me. When I was going over the questions to try to figure out what my answers were going to be, I was going through my previous purchases through my emails and seeing how much I've spent on each plant, and I could have swore I had never spent over $200 for a plant, but I was wrong. That one was $230. I do not regret it. However, the first leaf was bent on the stem, so it ended up having to be cut off because it wasn't going to make it. So now all I have is the little stub of a second leaf, which hasn't done anything. Granted, I've only had it for about a month and a half, maybe, month and a half, and it hasn't done anything. It hasn't opened, so I'm really hoping that doesn't become a flop and my most expensive plant dies on me. But that one was my most expensive. Below that would be my Monstera Thai Constellation. I spent $165 on that, and I do not regret it. However, it has been a rehab plant since it got here. It got shipped to me with root rot. So I've been rehabbing it since I got it. It does look like it's on the up and up now. It doesn't look good, but it does look like it's finally reached its, lowest point, and it's climbing back up to actually be sustainable. The roots are growing. So I don't regret it. However, I do have this tendency that it seems like my more expensive plants end up being plants I have to rehab or spend a long time transitioning them, and I don't love that. And then my third one, it would be, I spent $150 on my pink Princess Philodendron, and I have no regrets on that. Absolutely no regrets. When I first got it, I was a little perturbed because the newest leaf was the most pink that it had, and it had broken off in shipping. So I was really afraid that once a new leaf emerged that it wasn't going to have as much pink on it. But if you guys follow me on Instagram, I actually just posted yesterday, the new leaf is over halfway pink. Like, there's one side that's completely pink and then splotches on the other half. So no regrets whatsoever. That was a win for the win. Like, that was a fantastic purchase. The second question is, what's the most I'd ever spend on a plant? I just know that I have a budget for myself monthly. I know exactly how much I'm allotting myself to spend on non-necessities, even though plants are a necessity. But things other than bills, groceries, stuff like that. I have a limit on how much I will let myself spend, minus the bills and savings and everything. And if it doesn't fit into that limit on what I'm going to allow myself to spend, then I just don't buy it. If I have $1,000 this month that I am allotting myself to spend, and there's a plant $1,000 and I know I'm not going to buy anything else for the entire month, yeah, I'll buy it. I'll buy a $1,000 plant. But that's probably not going to happen very often because very rarely do I have that big an amount in my budget that I can spend every month. But you know, tax returns come in, or if I get a bonus in my job and you know, I've got a little bit extra money and I want to buy a plant, yeah, I'll buy an expensive plant. I don't care. The third question is, has my plant collection ever caused issues in my relationship? And if yes, explain. And it has. I've actually explained this briefly in another video, but there was a point in time where me and my fiance were moving from Illinois to Florida. And in the interim, we were staying in a hotel waiting until we got our place here in Florida. So the hotel room that we had, like most hotel rooms, only had one window, and he chose to sleep on the side of the bedroom that was closer to the window, which is a decision he ended up regretting because I put all of my plants right up against that window because it was the only light I had in the hotel room. And he had to literally shimmy his way out of bed every morning because there were so many plants right there at that window. And we were in that hotel room for 2 to 3 months. So it definitely wore him down. He definitely got very, very irritated about it. So that definitely caused a strain. And for a while, he was trying to tell me that I wasn't allowed to get any more plants. So we ended up compromising to make both of us happy, which was while I was in the hotel room, I wouldn't get any more plants because while we were in the hotel room, I was still collecting plants and still, you know, overcrowding him basically while we were there. So we made a deal that I would not get any more plants during that period of time that we were in the hotel room. And once we got our house, the only thing he asked of me was, do not put them in places where they would be in his way. Don't make it to where, you know, he has to walk around them or, you know, put in too much effort to not hit them, basically. That was his only rule, which our house is fairly large, so I don't really have that issue now. I put them in corners everywhere and hang them from the ceiling, and they're completely out of his way. There was one plant ever that he asked me to move because it was in his way, and it wasn't necessarily because it was in his way. I had it on a side table next to our couch, but it was a tall plant. So when he went to go throw the toy for our dog, he would always be worried that he would knock it over because he was afraid because the plant was so tall that it would hit the plant. So that was the only thing he asked, was that I move that one once we got here to a shorter plant there so that it wouldn't be in his way, because he does respect my hobby. He likes that I have something that I enjoy. So he was like, hey, I don't want to hit this plant. You know, I don't want it to fall over and break. Will you put it somewhere else or put a smaller plant there so that I don't accidentally hit it? And, you know, I'm a pleasing woman, so I obliged. But no, so that was the only time it really caused an issue, was when we were in the hotel room, and that's when we kind of have the rule now that they're out of the way in general. Yeah, and you know, he's consistently worried that the more plants I buy, the greater of a chance that they will be in his way. And then he just gets amazed because I buy a different plant stand or hanger, and somehow there's more plants now, but they take up less space, and it almost blows his mind. So as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, he doesn't care. Number 4 is, has this hobby or collecting plants ever interfered with travel plans? And so far, the only issue has been when we did move from Illinois to Florida, trying to move with all of them, because we did one trip, drove from Illinois to Florida. So any plants that I had at the time, which was nowhere near as many as I have now, I've got probably over 150, almost 200 plants now, but at the time, I think I maybe had 30 plants, and a lot of them were smaller. I think most of them were probably like 4 or 6 inch. Some of them, you know, even smaller than that. So that was the only time it really kind of was difficult with travel plans, because we had movers moving all the bulk of the stuff from our previous house, but we obviously had quite a bit packed into our cars, things that we wanted to have immediately once we got there that we didn't have to wait for movers to show up with. So it was trying to pack the necessities and the plants into the vehicles. So that was difficult to do. Obviously, it didn't interfere with anything. It just made traveling and that move harder. However, we have talked about future travel plans, you know, going out of the state, going out of the country. And I have been trying to mentally prepare on like how I'm going to handle that with my plants. And I don't know, because I don't know anybody here in person that I could trust to take care of my plants. So it would probably just be a lot of hydro spikes and all of the plants that I know don't really like to dry out, and the plants that prefer to dry out in between waterings or do okay if they dry out. You know, it'll just be basically a toss of the dice at that point to see if they make it. Number 5 is, have I killed a plant intentionally? And the answer is yes. Usually, if I'm killing a plant intentionally, it's because it has a pest that I don't want to deal with. So I just put it in like my garage and let it die a slow death. And then when it dies, I throw it away and reuse the pot and, you know, clean it and use it in a different plant. I don't do that very often. I don't do it with my rare plants by any means. If it's a rare plant, then I do my due diligence to save that plant. I have no shame in that, actually. I would only feel bad if it was a plant that was hard to find or I know is very desirable. Then I would feel bad because I essentially took that opportunity away from somebody else. If it was a plant that it was rare or uncommon and it, you know, was struggling, or I just didn't like it anymore, I would definitely give it to somebody who would appreciate it. I wouldn't just let it die. Number 6, what is the most stressful part of owning plants? The most stressful part to me about owning plants is filling up humidifiers. I have one room that I keep the humidity between like 75 and 80%. It's our office area, and filling up that humidifier is stressful because I've got a lot of my rare plants in there, the ones that are very, very intolerant to low humidity, the ones that really need the high humidity. I have a lot of those in there, and it's so stressful because like I go and check that humidifier at least every morning, and if I know when I've checked it in the morning that it was low, I'll check it a couple more times throughout the day to make sure that it didn't die or didn't, you know, lose all the water in the tank. And it is so stressful because there have been days where, you know, I was rushing out to work and didn't check the humidifier before I left, and I come home and there's no water in the tank. And then I start stressing to myself, okay, when did it run out of water? Because if I haven't checked it since the day before that morning, has it been dry for 2 days now, basically? Or did it just run out of water 5 minutes before I checked it? Like, that stresses me out to no extent. So, number 7, if I was only allowed to keep 3 plants in my collection, what would they be? I didn't think about this question ahead of time. I only thought about the most expensive ones ahead of time because I wanted to make sure I was accurate in how much I spent on them. But I didn't really think about my 3 that I have to have. So obviously I'd have to have a variegated plant. And if I had to pick one variegated plant, I would probably say it's my Syngonium albo, because it is I think one variegated plant, the one that has like pure white variegation, that is so easy in my care. I keep that one probably 5 feet from an eastern window, and it has done so good. If you follow me on Instagram, I actually post about it quite a bit, but it has given me so many like ghost leaves, which are all white leaves, that don't brown on me, that they stay significantly white, and they are what they are. The whites are never melting on the kind of half and half leaves. Like that is, if you're looking for a variegated plant, like a white variegated plant, and you can't get your hands on like one of the more expensive like Monstera albos, or you know, an alocasia variegated with white or anything like that, I recommend the Syngonium albo, because not only is it easier to find, less expensive, but it is my easiest variegated plant I have. So if I had, that would definitely be the first one that I need to have. The second one would probably be, I'm like looking around my house as I speak. The second one would be my Calathea fasciata or Calathea rotundifolia. It's kind of interchangeably called both. Because that and the orbifolia are like the easiest calatheas I have ever had. The rotundifolia is a lot more kind of contrasted with its striping, but it has a purple back. And I like that one slightly more than the orbifolia because of that. And it is one of the easiest ones, and it loves medium to bright light. I've given it some direct light, like, and it pushes leaves. The leaves get so big, and as long as you give it distilled water or rainwater, it will not brown on you. And it's just, I love it. I really do. And then the third one, I got it. The next one would have to be my Monstera deliciosa, like my original just green version, because that one is just like, it is the first larger plant that I ever got in my collection. Like back when I first started and I was just collecting basically stuff from the grocery store. And this was kind of one of the first ones that I actually ordered online, really wanted. And it was also the first one that I came in a larger pot. Well, technically it came to me bare root, but it had enough roots for a larger pot. I think I had it in like an 8-inch when I got it, and now it's like it's in a 10-inch. But it's kind of been one of my ride or dies. Like it's struggled. It struggled through the beginning when I definitely wasn't giving it enough light, but it was still giving me venestrations. Like, and now, you know, it's perfectly happy now, and you know, it's stuck it out through the hard times, and now, you know, it's getting the love and light and attention it deserves. Question number 8 is, what's my opinion on the rare plant hype? And obviously I'm a collector of rare plants, so this is something that kind of affects me in my regular shopping habits pretty often. I think the issue that we're coming from the rare plant hype is obviously the price tag that's connected to buying rare plants. But if you think about it, it's not actually the price tag connected to rare plants, it's the price tag connected to plants that are in demand. So there's plenty of rare plants out there that you can get for like 40 or 50 bucks because most people don't find them, you know, appealing in some way, and they're not really wanted right now, so they're not expensive. And it's just the simple kind of fact that's in any kind of business is supply and demand. Right now, people are more interested towards rare plants usually because it's kind of like that, oh, you want what you can't have kind of thing. So people are more driven towards rare plants, and through supply and demand, that's going to make rare plants more expensive because sellers know you'll pay more for it because you want it. It's like that in every business. So it's not like you can really be, in my opinion, too upset about it because that's just kind of the way the world works. And obviously it's not ideal, but that's kind of how people make their living, regardless of whether it's in the plant community or not. You make your living by selling it for slightly more than what you bought it for. That's just, so I don't really have too big of an opinion on it. I mean, because I'm a full contributor into this. Like I buy expensive plants, I buy rare plants, and that's just, I can't be too judgmental. It's just kind of the way the world works right now. And not even right now, that's just how it's worked for, you know, decades at this point. Like, question number 8 is, have I ever bought a plant because it was trending, and I didn't like it that much? And no, I have never bought a plant because it was trendy and then didn't like it that much. Actually, so let me dive a little deep into this. There have been plants that I bought that I thought I would like, and then just, they didn't tickle my pickle the way I thought they would when they showed up. But no, I have never bought one because it was, you know, trending, knowing that I wouldn't like it. Like, I've never done that. And I don't even think I've never inherently bought a plant because it's been trendy. However, as a consumer, like most people, and probably you guys watching this video, you watch me or any other more well-known YouTuber show a plant. Maybe it's a plant you've never seen before, or one that you didn't know was readily available, or anything. But you've seen it in some fashion on one of our YouTube channels. That might, you know, make you more interested in the plant, which is what it does to me. Like, I mentioned this in my last video, you know, Kaylee Ellen's Rare Plant Indexes. I don't necessarily watch those videos and go out and buy a plant because in that video, you know, she said, you know, oh, this is on my wish list now. Because there's plenty of plants that I bought that, you know, weren't on her wish list. Or she's shown in one of those videos and she said wasn't really her, you know, her jam. But I'll watch those videos and she's genuinely just talking about rare plants in those genuses. And there will be a, you know, an alocasia or philodendron or anthurium or something that pops up that I've never seen before or didn't know exist, or, you know, just didn't have a twinkle in my eye about it until I see it, and then I'm like, huh, that looks kind of cute. Question number 10 is, do you think having a plant collection is bad for the environment? And I do, especially for myself included, because rare or not, I almost exclusively buy my plants online. There's just not a huge assortment of available plants at like my local stores like Lowe's and Home Depot and stuff like that. And there's not really any, you know, plant nurseries close by. So regardless of it being rare or not, I do a lot of my plant shopping online, which accumulates a lot of trash. A lot of it, me and my fiance will actually reuse it in some way, shape, or form. So I will use it if I'm packing things to send to family members, or if I'm sending a plant to someone, I'll reuse packaging. If not, we save a lot of those boxes to reuse them when we move, because we move every couple of years, and if I get any box, regardless if it's a plant or not, you know, if it's an Amazon box, if it's a plant box, if it's a Target box, if I've got a box, I usually break it down and I keep it if I think I can reuse it when we move, or I think I can reuse it to send somebody something. And if I can't do one of those things, I either recycle it, or we use it for like kindling for our fires, because we have an outside fire pit and we have a fireplace. So it'll find a purpose. All I can really do, because it's a hobby that I enjoy, all I can really do is do my part and try to lessen the footprint of my collection. So I can't speak on everybody's behalf, but I do my part to make sure that everything coming to me is dealt with in a smart and eco-friendly way, as much as possible. The last question, question 11, is how much would someone have to pay me to kill my favorite plant? And here's the deal. You could definitely pay me to kill my plants. I do not usually have an emotional connection to the exact plant that is in front of me. I have a connection to that plant or that genus and that variation. So what I mean by that is my favorite plant right now might be my Syngonium albo. You know, you could pay me to kill that plant because that specific albo can die. And I'll just buy another one. That is my favorite plant, and I will always have that plant. So you might pay me to kill it, and I'll just use that money and buy a new one. Like, it's not, I don't get an emotional connection to that exact plant. I get an emotional connection to having that plant, so I'll just replace it. And I would do the same thing if my favorite plant died on me. I would just replace it, and I'd be happy again. So if somebody had to pay me to kill my favorite plant, I would probably say they need to pay me enough that I could buy the plant 3 times over. So, for instance, when I first bought my Syngonium albo, I bought 2 $45 Syngonium albos and put it into one pot. So it's essentially a $90 plant at that point. So if somebody wanted to pay me to kill that plant, they would have to pay me minimum $270. So that's $90 times 3. They'd need to pay me enough that I could kill that plant and buy it 3 times over. And that's all it would take for me. That might make me heartless, but I mean, I love the hobby of it. I don't, they're not like people to me where like, they're irreplaceable. Now, if I had like an endangered plant, which I don't have, but if I had like an endangered plant, like one that I knew if it died, that was an impact to the world, that was an impact to this, you know, this hobby, being a collector, like there's not probably a single amount in the world that you could pay me if I had one that was like endangered or so rare to find that like you could count on one hand how many people had it. You know, like if it was like an oblique or something, like, but I don't have anything to that extent right now. So yeah, you can pay me. But that's it for me, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I enjoyed the tag. Julie, if you're watching this, which I don't know if you are because I'm not that big of a channel yet, but if you are, thank you for making the tag. I really liked it. I really like the originality of it being a little bit of a juicier tag. You know, spilling the tea a little bit when it comes to the plant world. And for all of you guys that are still watching, thank you. If you're not subscribed already, you should definitely do so. Follow me on Instagram at PlantMyHappySpace. For now, I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out.